Welcome back to the 41st episode of the All That Podcast. Today, I have myself. No guest today, just me holding it down by myself. Today will be a very interesting podcast. I'm talking about a lot of different things that's been on my mind and different things that's been in the news, etc., etc. So let's jump right into it. I don't know if any of you guys saw Dave Chappelle's new stand-up on Netflix called Sticks and Stones, right? It was brilliant. The guy's a genius. I've been quoted as saying Dave Chappelle's the smartest guy on earth, and I really believe that because, to be able to bring these real life things and make them funny in like an intellectual way, it just takes another level of genius that nobody has, in my opinion, except Dave Chappelle. So, he talked a lot about a lot of things that'll make people angry, right? And so, but one specific area in his stand-up I want to focus on, and that's cancel culture. So at one point in the stand-up, Dave said, I'm going to do something I never do, impersonations. All right, so the first joke he tells, he says, here's my first impersonation. This is the founding fathers writing the Constitution. Hey, nigga, hurry up with that Constitution. I'm getting sleepy. Right? So everybody laughs. It's funny, hilarious. But the second thing he says is, he was like, okay, with this one, you have to tell me who this is. Okay. So he starts and he's like, if I ever find out, anything you do, ever in your life, you're canceled. And he's like, who is that? And everybody in the audience is like, Trump. And he was like, no, it's you, mother. It's you. And I just thought that was genius. And, he went on to talk about Michael Jackson and how, Michael's dead. It's been dead 10 years. Now he has 2 new cases. He talks about Kevin Hart and the Oscar controversy with the gay comments. He talks about R. Kelly, et cetera, et cetera. And so cancel culture is a thing that I've been wanting to talk about, just haven't gotten around to it. But that Sticks and Stones stand-up definitely gave me the push to sit here and talk about it. And I hate cancel culture. Like, what is that? Like, how do you just cancel people after one mistake? You know what I mean? And it's just like, oh, we're done with you. You're canceled. Now, I totally believe in holding people accountable for what they do, right? But just canceling them totally is problematic in so many different ways. And now we've gotten to the point where social media is judge and jury, right? So if something comes out about a celebrity or somebody and it cannot have any facts in the story, it could be a lot of holes in the stories, it can be just hearsay, but if a headline comes out and says so-and-so did so-and-so, everybody, he's guilty. She's guilty. He's guilty. She's guilty. And that's very scary. Like, it's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but now it's guilty until proven innocent. And that's just wrong on so many different levels. And it's not just, the average person on social media, which, that's a huge part of it. It's also the journalist, and that's one thing I can agree with Trump about, the fake news and how, the journalists are losing a lot of credibility, to be honest. And it's like, because everybody wants to be first on the story or right on the story. So, they have these like buzzwords like, sexual harassment or rape, right? These are buzzwords, right? So automatically, when you hear these words, you're going to feel some type of way. So when journalists, they see these words connected with somebody of importance, they, bam, this person is guilty. The journalists are jumping on them. And it's kind of like crazy, dangerous in a way, and you can just point to, I'm a Michael Jackson stan. And of course, I'm always talking about that. But the Leaving Neverland documentary just won an Emmy. Right? Just won an Emmy, and it was largely, not even largely, like totally based on fictional things and stuff you can't even prove. And you have a whole list of things that's, that you can see that would point to Michael being innocent, but you just have these two guys and their word and no evidence or whatever, and people will just run with that. So it's very, 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 very dangerous, and this counterculture is crazy. Hold on, let me send a text. All right, I'm back. Just had to send that to tell people to be quiet because the microphone picks up everything. But back to what I was saying. Cancel culture is trash, and we need to get rid of it. And I was listening to Mortal Man by Kendrick Lamar the other day. And Mortal Man was on the To Pimp a Butterfly album, which came out in like 2015. So as I was listening to this, I was like, Kendrick was ahead of his time with this song, because if you just look at the lyrics, he's kind of like prophesying or foreseeing what was to come with this cancel culture. Even like the first, hook, the first things he says on the song is, when shit hit the fan, is you still a fan? Like, you could just stop the rest of the song right there and just play that little bit. And that you can hold the whole 3-hour conversation about that 2 bars right there. When shit hit the fan, is you still a fan? Right? So he goes on to say, do you believe in me? Are you deceiving me? Could I let you down easily? Is your heart where it need to be? Is your smile on permanent? Is your vow on lifetime? Would you know where the sermon is if I died in the next line? If I'm tried in the court of law, if the industry cut me off, if the government want me dead, plant cocaine in my car, would you judge me a drug head or see me as K. Lamar, or question my character and degrade me on every blog? Want you to love me like Nelson Mandela. Want you to love me like Nelson. Want you to hug me like Nelson. I freed you from being a slave in your mind. You're very welcome. You tell me my song is more than a song. It's surely a blessing. But a prophet ain't a prophet till they ask you this question. When shit hit the fan, is you still a fan? And so I was listening to this, and I was like, Kendrick was really, like, he really foresaw what was to come in the entertainment industry with, the cancel culture. And it was like, wow. But the last verse in this song really like sums things up, right? So he says, I've been wrote off before. I got abandonment issues. I hold grudges like bad judges. Don't let me resent you. That's not Nelson-like. Want you to love me like Nelson. I went to Robbins Island, analyzing that's where his cell is, so I can find clarity. Like, how much should you cherish me? Then he goes on and on and on. But the part I really want you to hear is, he says, how many leaders you said you needed and then left them for dead? Is it Moses? Is it Huey Newton or Detroit Red? Is it Martin Luther, JFK, Shooter, or you assassin? Is it Jackie? Is it Jesse? Oh, I know it's Michael Jackson. Then he says again, when shit hit the fan, did you still a fan? And he says, that nigga gave us Billie Jean. You say he touched those kids? How many leaders have you said you needed and then left them for dead? And it is cancel culture. We have these people, right, who has done a lot of things for society and the world as a whole. But when one mistake comes about, we are quick to cancel them. A problem. JayZ with the NFL things. I talked about this on the last podcast. I'm going to just expound on it again for the sake of this conversation. Bailing out Black Lives Matter protesters. Donating money to HBCUs and for kids to go to college, and, taking care of Sean Bell's family, Columbine. When 9/11 happened, he was, as he said in the song, he's the first in line. All these things Jay has done, donating $2 million to the Black Lives Matter movement, right? So you take all that stuff, freeing 21 Savage, helping Meek Mill with his case. So back to my point. All these things that this guy has done, right? So he does one thing that you don't like, and now he's canceled. It's crazy. Um, and this flows also away from, well, not away from, but into regular society also, and with the criminal justice system. And so my question is, like, what is our goal? So we lock up a lot of people. Most people are locked up for non-violent offenses. And I'm on board with saying that people who do drugs should not be in jail. They should be in a rehabilitation place, first and foremost. But what is our goal? Like, is our goal to make better citizens, better human beings to put into society? Or is our goal just to have bodies in a prison? You know? Because I don't see a lot of that. I don't see a lot of the rehabilitation, part of prison. It's just a business and, way to make money. So the more bodies, the more money. And, council culture is like, for this example, it's like these people going in for nonviolent offenses, coming out, all right, you can't vote, can't get a job, you got a record, and then that sets you back like 10 steps, and then it's easy to fall right back into that trap of getting into jail. So, what is our goal? Shouldn't the goal be to make better citizens instead of just putting them in a place that holds their bodies so you can make some more money? And this is what we do as a society on large when people make mistakes. You don't have to, believe in the Bible, but you could just use what the story I'm about to tell you. It's like, Jesus, all the people around him were literally outcasts of society. Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. Matthew was a tax collector, which was, looked down upon at that time. Paul, who wrote most of the Bible, the New Testament, killed Christians before he became a disciple. So, are we really the land of second chances? Or is that just the thing we say? And one more point I want to add to earlier about journalists is that there's no room for facts. So when the lie looks better, facts don't really matter. So, people create these narratives and that fits what they want to put out there, and the facts just get ignored, right? So there's no room for facts. You can say, look, this is a fact. This person did dun, 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 and they're going to still say, nah, we're going to stick with this headline, which is crazy. And speaking of council culture, we can segue into Kanye West's Sunday service. At the beginning, when Kanye first started doing this, and actually, I'm still feeling a little bit like this right now. I feel like the genius thing about Kanye's Sunday service is not the music itself. It's the fact that he knew that the community, which means the black community, was looking at him with a side eye for wearing the MAGA hat. So, what better place to go than the black church to get back invited to the cookout? Like, what place is more accepting? Well, except for gay people, because we got to work on that. Because black church not too accepting with homosexuals unless you're leading, the music. But what other place is more accepting than the black church? So Kanye, I feel like, thought about that, and he went there. And let me tell you, I was watching Sunday service, the one he did in Atlanta at Jamal Bryant's church Sunday. I was watching it with my great grandmother, and my great grandma said, "Boy, I bet the devil is mad now." And when she said that, I was like, "This man is a genius. He's a genius. It worked." If you can just see the best way to get into a black grandmother's heart is to see you. Is if she sees you worshiping God and say, "Oh," I was like, "This guy's a genius. He figured it out. It worked." But as far as the Sunday service itself, I liked it a lot, man. They were jamming. Like, it was my favorite part of church is always praise and worship anyway, and they were killing it. I mean, remixing Monica's songs, some other artists they remixed also. They were doing the damn thing. Some people came to me saying, how do I feel about Kanye doing this? He's not a pastor, or blah blah blah, or he has his history, his wife, etc., etc. I'm like, everybody has the right to praise God. The last time I checked, I didn't feel like there was a monopoly on who could and who couldn't praise God. I think that's pretty open to everybody, and it's not my place to sit here and judge him, especially because he did that one Sunday service in church, but the majority of his Sunday services were done outside, away from the structure of church. So I love the Sunday service, and I thought it was legit. I thought it was really good, and also I think it was very therapeutic for Kanye, and I think it's more therapeutic than any medicine that the doctors could have given him, because we saw how he acted when he was on the medicine. He was still kind of erratic, up and down, mood swings, etc., etc. But seems like he's found something that works for him, that's putting him in a good space. And I also think that it's bringing him closer to his mom. Because I would imagine that him and his mom went to church together, and just him being in that environment, and thinking back on those memories with his mom, which in my opinion started his downward spiral. I think, it's cool, and I love to see it. So Kanye, keep doing your thing. And also, it's going to bring a lot of younger people to Christ and to God. So I see no problem with it. People stop being so religious. And just because he's not a pastor doesn't mean he can't praise God. You should be thanking him for praising God. So I've been reading a book by Malcolm Gladwell called Talking to Strangers, and it's a really good book. I'm really not going to get into the book yet because I might be saving it for my book club. But I watched Malcolm Gladwell on The Breakfast Club, and he says something that I've been saying for a while, but he just articulated it better than me. So he said, he was speaking of Donald Sterling. Now, if you don't know who Donald Sterling is, Donald Sterling was the old owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, who made text his girlfriend racist comments about her not being around black players, etc., etc., and he ended up losing his team as a result of it. So Malcolm Gladwell made the point that 30 years prior, Donald Sterling was found, it was a known thing that he racially discriminated in his apartment buildings, right? This is a fact. Everybody knew this. Right? But nobody said anything about it. But when he texted his girlfriend something racist, everybody blew up. And that's what I've been saying for a long time. And he was saying that, when you think about it, him systemically discriminating against blacks is far worse than him saying something racist to his girlfriend. And I was like, wow, that's brilliant. Because it's true. And I've been saying that for a while. It's like, when I talk about racism, I really don't care or focus on individuals. I'm focusing on systemic things. And I think us as a whole need to adopt that mentality. Stop worrying about, individuals, or how this one person might think, or blah, 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 or something that gets your attention. Oh, we saw it. He texted his girlfriend, this racist. Oh my God. But 30 years prior, right? He was systemically discriminating against black people, black families who needed a place to stay and who needed, help. So, and like Malcolm Gladwell said, that is far worse than him texting his girlfriend anything. So I think we need to stop being like so drawn to these big over the top, like, oh, rape this incident or this blah blah blah, or a cop killing. We focus like this cop is racist, or that. Let's focus on the system. Right? There's numbers that tell you that the NYPD has been doing these things for a while, right? And we have, or the LAPD or whatever, and we have community organizers and community leaders that bring light to this issue. But as a on a mass scale, who's talking about it? So, but when we have like a singular incident, like a Sandra Bland or a Michael Brown or Trayvon Martin, it becomes this big story, and everybody is like, "Whoa!" But there's literally stories and numbers and evidence that show you these things going on that you can talk about every day. That's probably, once again, it's important. Sandra Bland is important. Michael Brown is important. Trayvon Martin is important. But what's even more important is the system, the systematic racism. So I just want us to stop focusing on the clickbait, man, and just let's do our research. Let's read, let's be knowledgeable about things, so that way we can't get tricked, and then we can actually make some change. And then speaking of change and moving forward, also this past weekend, P. Diddy held the Revolt Summit, and it's a summit of a lot of different things, like music execs get together, they talk, or they have keynote speakers. But one segment of it was that he got a panel of, I forget everybody's. I know Tamika, I forgot the last name. She's the organizer. Candace Owens, Killer Mike, T.I., and this other guy who gets young people together to vote. And so they had this, conversation. And it was kind of beautiful to see, and I'm going to tell you why. It was beautiful to see because it was a lot of different black opinions on one stage. Like, and we rarely see that. It's kind of like, the views, like you had to watch Fox to get one black view, then you got to watch CNN to get another black view, MSNBC to get another black view. But on here, you had all different black views on one stage, and they were intellectually, having a conversation, which I loved. Even if you disagree with your brother or your sister, you should still hear them out, and that's the only way we can, make change. Because Killer Mike said this. He was like, let's take the good of what you say, what I say, what you say, you say, and let's make a 10-point system plan to present. And Killer Mike killed that panel. Killer Mike is I have a short list of people I think like are brilliant. Like I wish I was as smart as them. And he's one of them. Killer Mike is brilliant. And on one instance, I'm pretty sure all of you seen this because it went viral. Where T.I. was kind of like getting on Candace Owens because, Candace Owens was trying, she didn't quite get to the point, but she was trying to describe when America was great. And T.I. was like, when was it great? Like when women couldn't vote, when we was hanging from trees, blah, 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 blah. So, T.I. was going off, and she was like, you let me talk. And he was like, that because you started with some bullshit. So, but then Killer Mike came on, and he just shut all of it down. And then he said, actually, there was a time when America was great, and that was 7 years, after the 7 years after the Civil War. when, blacks had more people in Congress than they do now, when blacks made up the working class and they were the skilled labor, and, they had, black people were doing really, 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 really good at that time during that 7-year span. And so he just went into a whole spiel, I'll put the link in the bio so you can watch it yourself. But it was really good, really informative. Shout out to Diddy for putting all those different black minds and views and beliefs on one panel and letting us hear it all. So let me see. 1619 Project by the New York Times. Please check it out. It's very important. The council culture stuff I took a shot at journalists, but this is the journalism I love, based on fact, based on real research. 1619 Project, they have a podcast called the 1619 Project you can check out, and there's like 8 or 9 different articles on New York Times, and you have to pay, but you get 9 articles free. So just, and you don't have to put card information. You know how that is. You don't have to do any of that. Just sign up with your Facebook or whatever and read those articles, because it's very, 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 very important. And I want everybody to tune in, or either listen to the 1619 Project podcast, or I want you to read the articles, because to me it's very important for everybody to know Black history. Simply because it wasn't taught to us. And another thing is, like, that's one of many ways to fix racial tensions or racial relations, is if I know your history, if I have an understanding of your history, then I better understand you, which leads me to probably treat you better. We can, talk, etc., etc. So 1619 Project, it goes really into depth, and it was like, America did not start July 4th, 1776. It actually started in 1619 when the first slaves arrived on American shores. It goes into how slavery really affects everything in American culture. Like, it really does. If you break it down, like all those, treaties and stuff we learned about in school, because the textbooks teach us half truths. All of that stuff was centered around slavery. Civil War centered around slavery. So, it's very, very informative. They tell you how slavery basically created capitalism, even the current work structure, slavery, music, everything. And once you see this, your mind will be blown. And as you see how much slavery still to this day affects everyday life, and then people will stop saying, "Oh, that was so long ago," because you will start seeing the effects of it that's still present to this day. So 1619 Project, NewYorkTimes.com. Please check that out, and or listen to the podcast 1619 Project. That's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. We'll be doing more of these. So if you're listening to this, please do not participate in cancel culture. Please be informative before you cast somebody as guilty, because what's going on is that it's like we in the courtroom, we only hear one side, right? The person don't get to defend themselves at all. We just hear one side. That's it. It's just one side, and that's not how the judicial system or life should work. Period. So, guys, please do not participate in that. Let's be informed. Let's get some facts before we throw somebody out. And even if somebody is guilty of something, keep in mind that you would want a second chance also. Thank you. Subscribe to the YouTube. Subscribe to my podcast. And that is it till next time. Peace.